All right. So, um, I think the word to sum up today's game is lethargic. That's the word I kept on using. That's the word I kept on screaming at the screen throughout the game. Um, there were certain pockets, certain blasts of sort of excitement, a little bit of creativity every once in a while. But other than the odd few times, we were really off it today. I don't know if that's anything to do with the fact that we've just come off the back of a 4-0 victory away from home. Um, and everyone's just on their high horses. If that is the case, and we've sort of lost it after losing 4-0, Sean Dyche has a bit of work to be doing on that mentality, because going into a pretty big game against West Ham that could all but seal promotion, not promotion rather, that could all but seal safety in the Premier League for us. To come out with a performance like that, to come out with an almost mindset like we did today, it's poor, and it does make you worry. It makes you worry about the future. Are we going to reach a certain point next season? And I would have imagined at this point we'll be staying up, but you never know. But let's say in the pretty certain future that we're in the Premier League next season, and we are back in another relegation scrap, because I can only see this happening again next season. Just based on the fact that a lot of our players are getting older. It's another year on. And a lot of them are injury prone. You've got to wonder, how are we really going to bounce back from times like this? Because we're not going to have that grit and determination forever. And this season in particular, I think it's really faded. We don't have that sort of graft that I suppose almost defines Burnley Football Club anymore. Or rather, I should clarify, we don't have that graft that's defined Burnley Football Club just this season. We might have it next season. I don't know. We might still have it in us, but this season we've just looked really just weak. We've and I think today we were just pushed over a little bit. Like, West Ham kind of just, they brushed us aside with a performance that I personally didn't think was exceptional. I didn't think West Ham really ever hit the nail on the head today. Not in a way that you could force a goal from the best defence in the world. Instead, they were pretty preventable goals, I found. Or if not preventable, maybe a bit soft or easy. And as well as that point, I've got a bone to pick with this team, with this squad. Why do we struggle so much with Mikel Antonio? I truly have no idea how, because maybe I'm being a little bit sort of one-dimensional about this thinking, but I just see Mikel Antonio as Adama Traore who can shoot. He's big, he's fast, and he can just shoot. We deal with Adama Traore so easily. So why can't we deal with Mikel Antonio? Maybe I'm wrong in comparing the two to such a degree. Maybe I'm wrong. But from what I see between the two, I just can't see why we really just do struggle against Antonio. And the same happened last game. He scored a very easy goal that we should have prevented, and it's baffling. It's absolutely baffling. It was a difficult game to watch. All in all, I found it was a very difficult game to watch, because nothing ever really clicked at any point, at any sort of expanse of time. The odd thing clicked every once in a while, but like against Wolves, when we were clicking for, I mean, maybe it's a bit of a poor comparison because we clicked for 90 minutes. But all right, let's take it back to the Newcastle game or to the Southampton game. We clicked for 15 to 20 minutes. And then we sort of dropped back a little bit and we clicked for a little bit longer in there. Whereas in today's game, we kind of went pre-Southampton. We went back to that squad that kind of just doesn't really have much of an identity, doesn't know what it's doing. And it's a struggle to see that right after that Wolverhampton Wanderers game, where we seemed to have all the personality, all the diversity, we just seemed to have everything going for us that game. So why have we lost it over the course of a week? I suppose obviously teams drop in and out of form, and recently our form has actually just been good. We've just been losing. The Southampton game right up to the Wolverhampton Wanderers game, they were in good form. We just weren't winning. It was just the Wolves game that we happened to sort of turn that form into a victory. Today we didn't even have that form. Things just weren't working, and I'm just going to keep repeating myself now. I think at this point, as I say, I think things just were never really happening for us, and I think Sean Dyche today got it wrong. Obviously, I'm not a manager, and maybe I'm not looking at this in the right sense, but I think Sean Dyche got it wrong today. You look at West Ham's defence, they've got Diop in the back, they've got Craig Dawson at the back, they had Thomas Souček out at the back today, which I don't think we probably could have predicted, but, Craig Dawson and Diop in themselves, they're big fellas who can win headers, who rather win headers for fun. Craig Dawson loves winning headers, and we've seen it throughout this season. So why have we spent the majority of our game pumping the balls into the box and hoping we win headers? Because we rarely won headers, if at all. I can't be definite we actually did win any headers in their box. And it just makes me feel a little bit, hard done to as a fan. Like first world problems and all that. Oh no, this guy's not getting to see his team win. But yeah, it is that level. We love watching our football teams, whether or not you're a Burnley fan. It doesn't matter who you support. You don't want to see things going wrong ever. Obviously, things will go wrong, and I can accept that today was just one of those days where it's gone wrong, and it's been poor. But I really like even the goal, even Chris Wood's penalty. It came from an over the top through ball. So why weren't we trying those more often? Because Diop had no idea how to deal with that, and we tried it a couple times, and Diop had a problem the majority of the time. So why aren't we persisting with that? And why are we instead shoving crosses into the box and getting nothing from it? We've seen actively that nothing's coming from it. It's a tough one to take. Anyway, we're 9 minutes deep already. That's gone quick. So we'll go into the individual performances of the players. Nick Pope in goal obviously conceded 2 goals. It's always a struggle to determine how well the goalkeeper did. But he conceded 2 goals. I'd argue maybe the first goal he probably could have come out and punched or caught. It wasn't particularly far from him. But I think that's a shared problem between him, Loughton, and James Tarkowski. I think all 3 of them could have done something a little bit different. But had they all done something different, they probably would have all clashed, and a goal probably would have happened anyway. So maybe it was just the gods in, and it was inevitable that we ended up conceding that goal. Second goal, I don't think he could have done much about it. He was, it's when a ball comes in like that, you just hope your defenders get there, and obviously they didn't. A keeper can't do much about that because the cross is going in, and if Antonio gets onto it, it's also going in. The keeper can't do anything. Um, in terms of general play, he came out really quite a lot during the game, picking up loose balls about 40 yards, 50 yards out of his box, and he was on it. Especially the sort of last 10 minutes or so of the game, he was really on it, and he helped our defense quite a lot in terms of them being able to stay a little bit further upfield and him just picking up the ball. And getting it through and around men, and it was nice to see him having a little bit more confidence in himself today, on the ball. Do I still think I want him to do that? Probably not, because it always terrifies me when Nick pops on the ball. I love him, but I just boot it up. Just boot it. It's what you're made for. You got big old legs. Boot them up. He made a couple pretty good saves as well today. There was the one in particular near the end where Jesse Lingard was running down the wing, ended up getting a shot on goal, and it deflected off Ben Mee, and Nick Pope was pushing away to where the ball was going, but just about kept his hand down here. But I think he came off of his thigh anyway. But good reflexes, good reactions, and just a good decision to stay there and just keep yourself big. And he came out a lot of the time collecting balls from crosses. He was good. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, he was actually very good. They could have scored quite a few more if Nick Pope weren't in there. So yeah, good game, Pope. Well done. You did concede 2, but well done. Matt Loughton. I thought Loughton today was so off it. If anyone, bar maybe another one that I will talk about later on, if anyone that sums up today's game, it was Matt Loughton. Just lethargy. And I don't like saying it because I do love Loughton. I think he's excellent. But today he was just a bit off it. You could probably put their first goal down to Matt Loughton. I don't know why he's not even bothered jumping. He's not really looked like he's trying to do anything. He's looked like he's just bent over for the strength of Antonio, and it's just a bit frustrating when you see that happen, and you know that if he does anything other than just allow it to happen, Antonio doesn't get as comfortable a head on the ball as he does, and maybe doesn't score. I'm not saying Loughton can prevent the goal, but I'm saying he can do something to change the outcome of where that ball ends up. But he just doesn't. He just kind of allows Antonio to muscle him off the ball so easily, and it's a disappointing one. It's a disappointing one to take. As well as that, Matt Loughton's passing today wasn't great. He put a few balls into the box. I don't think there was anything of particular worth that ever really got in. As I say, all in all, it was just a little bit of an off day for him, and I expect him to come back better than ever next game. Centre of defence. Let's go James Tarkowski first. I thought James Tarkowski was mighty fine today. I thought he was pretty strong on the ball and off the ball. Again, maybe you can attribute the first goal to him. I don't know. I personally wouldn't. I don't think that was entirely his fault. Second goal, I don't think so either. That's such a difficult ball to defend, because if you go for it, you probably score an own goal. It's just one of them. It was a very impressive ball. You can't really say much about it in terms of what the defender could have done, should have done. As I say, yeah, he had a pretty good game today, James Tarkowski, and has a pretty good sort of shout for man of the match for Burnley. But I still don't think he was quite on it. He lost the ball a couple times trying to prove his worth again to Gareth Southgate. I will never enjoy it. I will never enjoy watching James Tarkowski try to prove his worth and then instantly ruin his worth. It's disappointing. I just want to see him be a good defender, because that's what he was today. He was a good defender, but there was the odd thing that was like, why are you doing that? Why are you wasting your opportunity on the ball to just give it away, essentially? But anyway, that's sort of part and parcel of the game. That's besides the point. As a defender, he was pretty good today, and didn't get much mention from the commentators. Which I think when you're a defender, if you don't get much mention, you're either prime Maldini or you've had a terrible game. So you know, 50-50. I thought he was fine. Ben Mee, again, didn't really get much of a mention today. He was a little bit erratic sometimes when, particularly when Antonio was pushing forward. He kept on lunging into tackles, and it was, I don't know, it was a struggle to watch because you just thought, why are you doing this? Like, just keep on top of him. Keep on top of him. Don't let him do what he's doing, because the second he pulls himself out of defence and lunges into the tackle, he's in midfield now, and there's only 3 defenders, and that happened a little bit too regular, and Charlie Taylor ended up having to essentially play Ben Mee's role, and then leave the wide out very, very, very open, more open than we usually would, and we just allowed crosses coming in. Generally, we dealt with it, but I thought when Ben Mee was lunging into those tackles, it was quite dangerous, and I don't want to see that anymore. Granted, I love the captain, and I thought as a captain today, I saw him commanding things quite a lot actually, and I was trying to focus a little bit on that today, and he was commanding really well. Does that make up for the lunging? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but you know, if you're commanding your defense well, if you're commanding the people in front of you well, but you just can't command your own emotions, maybe have a bit of a look at that. I don't know. I'm being really sort of facetious today, aren't I? I'm not being nice to the players. I must say, I don't think any of them had a particularly bad game. I just think it was a bit off the money, which happens. This happens in football, and it's something we all have to get used to. You know, even the best teams in the world have off days, and we're not one of the best teams in the world, but so we still have off days. It's just part of the game. Charlie Taylor, I thought Charlie Taylor was actually pretty good today. He had to carry that left hand side because Dwight McNeil was. I'll talk about Dwight McNeil. I didn't sound too impressed, did I? That's a bit of a foresight into what I'm going to talk about. But Charlie Taylor defensively, I thought was fine today. Perhaps couldn't control Soufal as well as he probably would have wanted to before the game, but I don't think there was too much of a problem because we do welcome crosses into the ball anyway, crosses into the box rather anyway. Attacking wise, he got up quite regularly, and it was nice to see. He was putting a few crosses in. There were a couple crosses that didn't beat the first man. That's disappointing to see because you know Charlie Taylor's quality when he's putting the ball into the box. We know he can cross the ball really well. So in that sense, it was a little bit disappointing. But I thought in terms of Charlie Taylor's overall prowess from midfield into the attack, it was very much stunted by the next man I'm going to talk about, Dwight McNeil. Now, Dwight McNeil, probably even more than Matt Loughton, really summed up today's game in terms of lethargy. He just never seemed to get going at all, and I don't think it's a surprise that he came off in about the 60th minute for Goodmanson. He looked really off it. He looked really slow. You could probably attribute their first or second goal to him? I think it was their first goal to him losing the ball outside of the box far too easy. He left the ball there and started running forward, and that's not Dwight McNeil, and we know that's not Dwight McNeil. Just having an off day, I would have assumed so. But again, I'm not gonna pretend that he didn't have an off day. But he had a very poor game today, and just looked really slow. A lot of his passes just never really came off. I don't think he got many crosses into the box, particularly after about half an hour of the game. He tried first half an hour, granted, but nothing ever really came through for him. And I think that's I just think that's primarily down to him having a bit of an off day, and I think Dyche was right to bring him off sooner rather than later. Let him have a bit of a rest. Because he needs it. The guy needs a bit of a rest. But we can't afford to give him a rest because we have one winger. We have one other winger. It's. I suppose he welcomes it because he's He's only young, so obviously he's going to want as much game time as possible, and he deserves as much game time as possible. Given that all-time Premier League matches played record, because I'm telling you right now, the guy's a demon. Just not today. He just wasn't much of a demon today, and was, as I say, lethargic. I'm just going to finish it there. Dartmouth was lethargic, and I wish he could have done better, but he just didn't. Centre midfield today, Ashley Westwood. I thought he was fine. Is that all? Is that fine? Can I just finish on that? I don't think there was anything of much worth at all that came from him. He was just your standard centre midfielder. Allowed things to pass through him. Didn't really drive much forward, but didn't make much of a problem anyway. I thought West Ham's midfield dominated anyway, and it was very difficult to sort of play around them. So that's probably why he had such a quiet game. Just because it's always tough to come up against a pretty dominant midfield. However, having said that, I thought Jack Cork, who I am going to give my man of the match to today, I just thought he was really on it. He looked like a little spring chicken, you know. The guy's like 30, 34, mid-30s, and he genuinely looked like one of our fittest, most on-the-ball players today. And that's probably just his experience. That's probably his experience of coming off the back of a big win, and being able to transfer that into the next game. And I really do think Jack Cork's experience right now is more vital to us than Josh Brownhill being in the midfield at all. I think right now you drop Josh Brownhill and you keep Gumminson out on the wide and keep Dwight on the left, because I will talk about Brownhill in a second, so let's just brush over that point. But Jack Cork, I thought today, was on it from the second the game started. A lot of the time he was who Charlie Taylor was working with since Dwight McNeil was off it today. And obviously, you know, he can't do much because he's in the centre. He can't, stay down the wing. But as I say, I just think his energy today outperformed the majority of Burnley players, if not all of them. In fact, yes, all of them. His energy outplayed all of the Burnley players today. It's just unfortunate that his energy, obviously, is always outmatched by a full 11 of a West Ham team who, from the second the match started, were just on it. If Jack Cork's energy was spread out amongst everyone else, I think we would have been fine today. I don't think we would have lost. Didn't really put much of a foot wrong in terms of just being a midfielder. Maybe defensively, probably could have done a little bit of a better job in terms of tracking back, which is what you usually expect from Jack Cork. But when he's carrying a midfield, when he's helping a ghosting midfield, which is what he did today. I felt anyway. It felt like we were playing a freaking 3-1-2. That's what the formation felt like, because West Ham just felt like they were everywhere. We felt like we were nowhere. But I thought Jack Cork just did well, given what he could do today. And I do want to see him play more often. I really do think his experience is invaluable to us right now. Especially maybe next season, give Josh Brownhill something to work off of. Because right now, Jack Cork is a better midfielder than Josh Brownhill. And we can't play Josh Brownhill for the future because we can't guarantee our future. Whereas I think Jack Cork right now adds to being more sure of our future in the Premier League. And in terms of Josh Brownhill on the right-hand side, I'll say it once. Well, that's not the saying. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. Josh Brownhill is wasted on that right-hand side. Invisible. Totally invisible. Matt Loughton had to do the majority of the attacking work today because Josh Brownhill's just never on the right-hand side. He doesn't even really drift into the centre. He's in that sort of awkward space between centre midfield and right midfield that kind of just makes the player redundant. And when he was getting the ball, he was only really holding it up to pass it to Loughton to then cross it from near enough the halfway line, which never really, came up with anything because Craig Dawson or Issy Diop were always there to put the ball out of the sky, take it away. we had to be closer to the box to give them less chance to react today. Whereas on that right-hand side, and you know what, I thought, actually, maybe that's where we've really struggled, is that our crosses were coming more deep because they were coming from our fullbacks. If we had both of our wingers on it today, which obviously Josh Brownhill's not a winger, and he's never really on it on the wing, but if we have two on it wingers today pushing forward and crossing the ball in, you might be looking at a different result today. And there are a lot of things that went wrong today, but I think that's probably one of the main things in terms of attacking that we really could have sort of benefited from having. But as I say, I'm not blaming Josh Brownhill because he's not a right midfielder, and it's a similar thing to Jeff Hendrick. You know, he's just been shoved out there because no one else can do it, and it is disappointing. Because I'm sick of having these sort of utility players have players who are going to be the best in that position. You know, don't just accept what you've got. I mean, I suppose Sean Dyche can't right now. We can't just say, all right, I want this player, I want this player, I want this player. Hopefully Alan Pace in the summer, you know, they've said that they are going to. Fingers crossed they do. We can't be sure, but hopefully they do. We need Alan Pace in the summer to come up trumps with a couple wingers, ideally on the right hand side, one on the right, one on the left, just to allow Josh Brownhill some time to mould himself back into that centre midfield role. And do what he was doing earlier this season and later on last season. Because right now, on that right-hand side, he's being wasted. And we all know, we've seen Josh Brownhill, we all know he can do well in the centre. But today, he just couldn't. And it's a waste. It's a real waste seeing, you know, probably one of our best signings in about 3 years. It's a shame seeing them put to waste and just put on the right hand side because we can't afford a right midfielder, or we have a right midfielder and he's so injury prone that he might as well not even be there. Oh, sorry, I'm struggling right now. I'm struggling. This squad is threadbare. Anyway, up top, Matej Vidra totally off it today. Didn't have that same sort of energy, the same sort of explosive Matej Vidra vibe. He just didn't have the Vidra vibe going on today, which I felt almost sort of took away from the attack. He was really slow. The amount of times I saw him pick up the ball, particularly in the first half. The second half, he was a lot quieter. First half, when he picked up the ball and he was pushing forward, he wasn't pushing forward. He was like lightly tapping it forward, just being like, all right, one bit at a time. And there was one bit in particular. I think it was either Dwight or Charlie Taylor pushing out wide, and there was just a free pass there for, I'd probably say, 4 or 5 seconds. Vidra didn't end up passing there, and you got to ask yourself, why aren't you taking that pass? And why have you instead just pulled up, stopped, turned around and passed it into the left-hand side and then ended up having the ball there anyway, but there's just defenders back there now? I don't know. I just thought he was slow and maybe the mind wasn't there today. But you could see when he came off, you could see he was disappointed with his performance. You could see he knew he didn't have the game he wanted to have. And I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will have the game he wants to have again soon. But today he was just off it. But I trust in him. I do trust in Vids to come back because I know he has the ability. I know he has the explosivity, if that's a word. I'm not sure. We know he has that. So just allow him to bring it back for these last 4 games of the season. And I have all faith in Vidra to come back and be Vidra again. And finally, from the starting 11, this has been a long video. I've been doing this for 20 minutes now. I've been doing the individual player ratings for 20 minutes. And up top, obviously, the last man in the starting 11, Chris Wood, scored his penalty, won his penalty really well. And And you know what? I think Chris Wood, before what should we say? Before maybe the Manchester United game, or before maybe the Newcastle game, before he started scoring again, before he gained his confidence, he would have let that go out for a corner when Diop got the touch on it. But just because he had that confidence, he picked the ball up, and when he did it, I thought, Wood, what on earth are you doing? You have ruined this. We could have got a corner, could have maybe got a goal, I don't know. No, but he picked up the ball and he pulled it over Diop's head, pushed it a little bit further, and then Thomas Souček ended up pile driving through him, and we got a penalty. And it's such a well-won penalty because he had that confidence and that sort of charisma, the aura about him to really push on and want to score, or at least want to influence a goal in some way, shape, or form. It was really quite pleasant to see something like that, especially from Wood, who famously for Burnley hasn't been a particularly active player off or on the ball. But he won it, and he put the penalty away emphatically. A lot of power in it, placed well. Keeper got a hand to it, but just as I say, too much power to prevent. So yeah, in terms of his goal, in terms of creating his chance and getting the penalty, well done, Woody. Other than that, he couldn't do much today because no one gave him the ability to do much today. It really was just him and Cork, I'd probably argue, doing the attacking today. And when you've got Jack Cork doing literally everything in the midfield, you're never ever going to get the ball up to you unless you just shove it forward from defence, which didn't work. So yeah, I think Wood was unfortunate today to not be able to continue his sort of run of form because the rest of the team let him down, I felt. And if the rest of the team were on it, I think Wood probably would have been probably would have had maybe another goal on top of the penalty. He's now on 11 goals this season. I read a statistic. I think he's like one of 7 players? I think he was one of 7 players in the Premier League to have 10 or more goals in the last 4 seasons. That's massive. For a Burnley player, that's massive. He's with the likes of Mo Salah and Harry Kane. I mean, you know, the numbers speak for themselves. Chris Wood is on another level and probably deserves better than us. But I'm so happy he's with us because without him, we are already relegated because he's the only thing that's been scoring goals for us. Go to the substitution super quick, and I'm going to leave the video because I need to get to bed. I need to get to bed rather and upload this soon. So in terms of subs, Goodmanson came on, had half an hour to change the game, put a few crosses in there, looked pretty positive, had a potential shot on goal, didn't do much with it. He just sort of sliced it. Oh no, Goodmanson, I think Goodmanson had 20 minutes. I can't be certain. Goodmanson either had 20 or 30 minutes. I'm not entirely sure. But didn't really get into it. But what are you supposed? How are you supposed to get into it? With 20 to 30 minutes left against a West Ham team who are looking pretty confident and are kind of just easing their way through a game. He really couldn't do much. Yeah, that's all I can really say. He wasn't enabled to do much because there wasn't really much of a structure to build upon and take forth. So he almost had. It was almost as if he was starting the game from minute 0, but every other player knows exactly what's going on the opposition's team, which is just it's not an easy thing to welcome yourself into. Joe Rodriguez came on. I could probably talk about Joe Rodriguez for another 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not going to, but I just want to say I'm really, really disappointed with Gerrard, and I have been for the majority of this season. I don't know. It's so difficult to criticise him because he is Mr. Burnley, isn't he? He's the Burnley boy. He's born and bred in Burnley, and he's done beautiful things for us and for the community. But at this point, I just think, is he really cut out for Premier League football anymore? Ooh, that was painful to say. Is he really cut out for Premier League football anymore? Because he doesn't seem to be. He doesn't seem to be cut out for it. He doesn't seem to be able to do the things all these other guys can in our team. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Feel free to discuss in the comments if you believe I am. But that's just the way I see Gerrard right now. Obviously, he had those couple chances and he absolutely slashed a chance from the 6-yard box wide, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing. And obviously, Ashley Barnes came on. I had about 10 minutes. It was nice to see him back on. Didn't do anything, obviously. I thought it was a mistake to bring off Wood. I thought we probably could have brought off Josh Brownhill and just had a 3 up top. But obviously Dyche, but that's not what Dyche was going for. Yeah, Barnes just didn't do anything. With the 10 minutes he was given, I think he missed a shot. I think. But that's all. Like, he didn't even have much opportunity to do it anyway, because the balls into the box weren't anything, and we weren't passing the ball into the box for him to get it to his feet in the first place. And when we weren't attacking, West Ham were straight down on the counter attack, and you know, we couldn't really do much. He couldn't really do much. Anyway, I'm tired now. It's probably my longest analysis video. 37 minutes long. That's pretty good going. So yeah, listen, I'm gonna stop saying who I think the next game is gonna be, because I've got it wrong for the past 4 weeks. If I'm to guess, I'm gonna guess Fulham. Probably wrong though. If it is Fulham, we have to beat them. If we beat Fulham, I believe we're up. I believe we have total safety. Even if we draw, maybe even if we draw, I'm not entirely sure on that one though. But we just have to not let Fulham win, I think, is priority number 1. And then if we can beat them, jolly good. Because we know we can. We know we can. Because Fulham haven't been great, and we've shown that we have a bit of bottle about us now. If you negate today's game and you forget that we played today's game at all. I'm hoping a poor performance today, though, will only spur us on to want to really give it to Fulham and just say, you know, get back into the Championship. That's where you belong. What a scummy thing to say. I apologise. Anyway, on to the next one. I hope you all really enjoyed this review. Nearly 40 minutes long. I need to really shorten these down because I just wanted a bit of a ramble for a lot of this video, I would have imagined. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Up the Clarets. If it is Fulham, fingers crossed we can beat them. On to the next one. Thank you for watching. See you later.